We trust the lamb, not the donkey or the elephant.
Well, let's go there because you talk about how the tendency is to want to stay away from controversial things, and I think that
Yeah.
is true in the past, but it seems like now sports has been drug into the culture war, right? So you can think of Colin Kaepernick kneeling
Mhm.
because of injustice that he saw in police actions toward black men, or Laura Ingraham saying that LeBron James should shut up and dribble, or Jason Adam and Tampa Bay Ray pitchers saying they didn't feel comfortable wearing the pride patch on Pride Night in Tampa.
Yep.
We've come a long way since Michael Jordan said, "Hey, Republicans buy sneakers too," and that's why he tried to stay out of the political game, or
Correct.
I say out of politics as it related to sports, because he wanted to kind of have this broad appeal to everyone and not turn people off unnecessarily. Do you think sports has become more political? Because sometimes when you raise that, people go, "Well, remember the power salute back in the '68 Olympics," and so help us think about that. Has sports become more political? And if it has that been good for sports or has it been bad for sports?
Well, this is a really interesting topic because in the world of sports are people from all backgrounds, all races, all religions, all political affiliations, you name it. They're all over the place. And that's how kind of that's always been. That's why the Jordan comment is such an interesting one. Republicans buy sneakers too. Well, he's trying to say, hey, I'm trying to appeal to everybody. I'm not trying to divide. I'm trying to get and obviously he's a very smart businessman and he knows that the more people who like his shoe, he doesn't really care what they believe. He just wants to buy their shoe. I think we're not any more politicized than we have been. I just think we're in an age where we know more about it
Mm,
with social media. I think that changed the game, whatever it was, 15 years ago or so, when we started hearing opinions from everyone on everything. And it was right there for us to read and to see and to hear. And everybody has a soapbox and everybody has a place where they can voice their opinion on topics, right? And then because when 2016 happened and Trump became president in 2020, which was such a polarizing year anyways, with all of the different things that took place, now everybody's starting to voice their opinion on whether they're for or against this and that. And I think when you get more people doing that, that's going to seep into sports, just like it's
mm,
going to seep into everywhere else. Sports has become what's interesting about not just ESPN, but everywhere, I think has become this sort of hot take, opinionated sport. It's not about what happens and just telling me what happened and then letting me have my own opinion and talking about it with my buddies. It's become where it's either right or wrong, left or right, black or white on opinions. And
mm.
opinions aren't always that. Opinions, sometimes you're spot on and it's the truth, but sometimes it's just what you think and you're way off or whatever. But we've turned that into opinions have turned into truth. And that's where I think you start to find some polarization. And that's where I also think when ESPN reports a story or when Fox Sports reports a story or Bleacher Report or whoever reports a story, they have to report it from all ends in the same way, in the way that they're supposed to. And that's where I think we've gotten away from that. Not just because not from them reporting stories properly. I think most of them still do that. But it's combining the reporting and the story with the opinion. So if you go
Mhm.
on ESPN's app or any sports app right now, you'll see a game that ended and that game is the score and here's what happened in the game. It was plain and obvious. But then you'll see the opinions on either side or thoughts on this athlete or thoughts on these things. Um, it's really interesting because we have to be very careful, especially in the sports world, to do that because we don't want sports to turn into that. I mean, for me, growing up, I didn't care what Dan Patrick or Keith Olbermann believed politically or anything like that. I just loved watching them on SportsCenter give me the highlights of the games. And so I fell in love with SportsCenter watching those two, watching Stuart Scott, Rich Eisen, all of these legends, Chris Berman, Bob Lee, you name it. I had no idea what they believed. And I honestly didn't care. And I still probably don't care what you believe if you're on TV. I just want to hear sports. And unfortunately, I think it's turned different to a different tune now where I kind of don't pay attention as much anymore because I'm worried that you're going to start seeping opinions with truth.
Well, sports used to be more unifying, I think, right?
Yeah.
And now it has become a bit more divisive. Like we used to all go to sporting events, and people, I would assume, conservatives, progressives, people from every race, every economic background, were all rooting for your team, whatever that was. And there was something unifying about being at the stadium of people who were really different than you, but nobody cared because what you shared in common was a love for the
Mhm.
game or a love for a particular team or a player, whoever everybody was there to watch. And now, unfortunately, it's become more divisive. And
In social media world, Keith, I'll say this. If you go to a sporting event and you root for your team and you're there to root for your team,
mhm,
I'm going to a college football game in a couple weeks. My first time ever to see Auburn, the University of Auburn, Auburn, Alabama. I'm going to sit there and I'll probably cheer for Auburn. I really don't have a connection to Auburn. I know a few people, I know their coach, but I'll probably cheer with the other 70,000 people in the stands. And when you're at an event, and I've gone to many even this year, those things still, when you're at the event,
mhm,
are put to the side because nobody knows what I believe or where I'm from, or unless they happen to follow Sports Spectrum, and then maybe they'll know. But 99.999% of the people have no idea about any of that. They just know I'm there to cheer on Auburn or to cheer
yep,
on the New York Mets, like I root for my baseball team. And so when you go to it's really the only place that you can go to where you're sort of unified without any bias or prejudice because you're just there to root for a team and high five the people to your left, to your right, behind you, and in front of you. But the social media world and the social media landscape that we live in, even on these shows and on these networks, are where we can try to turn that. Wow, he roots for the Cowboys. I root for the Cowboys, but man, does he vote for that? He votes that way, so screw him. Forget it. It's like, no, what are we doing here? And obviously, we're talking from the perspective of faith. Like that. That's a no-no for me.
I'm Patrick. Thanks for watching this video. If you're passionate about ending tribalism in the church and giving Jesus your allegiance, you're not alone. We have a podcast and a book. They're both called Truth Over Tribe. You can download the podcast on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can buy the book on Amazon. I hope you'll check them out.